welcome to Stingray Tom's Florida and another deeper dive into the archive. Today I'm covering the rest of this remarkable book from the archive. Published in 1936, it's a book of photography titled Florida from the Air. It was created by the Aero-Graphics Corporation, a company that, not surprisingly, did aerial photography and was located in Louisville, Kentucky and Vero Beach. Here's a link to part 1. As usual, you don't need to watch it first, so just save it for later. Florida from the Air was created in conjunction with Eastern Airlines, one of the earliest and most important American airlines, having been organized in 1926 by famed World War I pilot Eddie Rickenbacker. The book contains about 150 aerial photos, outlined in 3 trips, down the Atlantic coast, up the Gulf Coast, and through the center of the state from Clewiston up to Tallahassee. While there's a heavy focus on human development such as tourism, farming, and industry, the natural areas haven't been left out. In this video, I'm going through each page of the second half of the book and comparing the photos with corresponding Google Map images. Many of the buildings shown in 1936 are still around today, and of course the natural features show little change. The narration, taken directly from the book, provides lots of information. I've tried to recreate the style of a 1930s movie travelogue. Today, we're heading out from Miami down to the Florida Keys and then up Florida's Gulf Coast all the way to Pensacola. Then we pop back down in the south, starting in Clewiston and heading north to visit the towns not on either coast. As before, the weather is clear, our cruising speed is 170 knots, and we're flying low enough to enjoy all the sights, including places in the Sunshine State that have seen few visitors. We leave Miami aboard one of Aero-Graphics Corporation's photographic ships to see more of this interesting state, and to, first, view the Florida Keys and Key West. The Keys, which are countless myriads of coral islands running off of the southern tip of Florida and extending over 100 miles southwestward into the Atlantic Ocean and Gulf of Mexico, are dotted with fishing camps. The temperature and crystal clearness of these warm tropical waters make the Keys a fisherman's paradise. At the extreme western tip of the Keys, 160 miles from Miami, we find the quaint city of Key West. Having much the appearance of the West Indies, with many solid cedar and mahogany houses built close to the streets, Key West is one of the country's most unique and fascinating cities. Heading north from Key West, we strike that mysterious part of Florida's mainland known as the Everglades. 4 million acres of swamps, hammocks, and impenetrable jungles that harbor species of every known tropical insect, reptile, and animal. A country so impregnable in its defense that but very little of its interior has ever been seen by white men. This is the habitat of the Seminole Indian, to whom the Everglades hold no mysteries or fears. The alligators, rattlesnakes, tropical birds, and animals of the jungle-like swamplands provide his meager livelihood, and nature, in her most primitive form, is his religion. And while the Everglades look tranquil enough from the air, those black waters and heavy jungle growths hide a battle for existence that is both cruel and magnificent to imagine. Bearing westward from the Everglades, we strike the picturesque town of Naples on the Gulf of Mexico. The southernmost town of any size on Florida's west coast, this fashionable resort community features some of the finest fishing, hunting, and bathing to be found along the Gulf. The geographic position of Naples on the Tamiami Trail and away from the congestion of commercial surroundings gives this fair community an air of exclusiveness that typifies any high-class resort to be found in such a naturally beautiful setting. Fort Myers, called the City of Palms, is closely linked with some great names of recent history. Thomas A. Edison, during the later years of his life, spent half of each year here, working in his laboratory and attracting much attention by his experiments in rubber. This beautiful city, located at the western door of the Everglades, is a huntsman's and fisherman's haven. The Caloosahatchee River teems with tarpon and other game fish, which are caught the year round, and the Everglades provides hunting thrills of every description. Considering her heritage, her semi-tropical climate, and the cordial hospitality of her people, Fort Myers is one of the most inviting cities on Florida's west coast. Punta Gorda on Peace River, where it empties into the headwaters of Charlotte Harbor, is the county seat of Charlotte County. Its adequate airport, so characteristic of those to be found in nearly every small town in Florida, is located within a short distance of the good fishing and hunting grounds for which this section is noted. Venice, the winter quarters of Kentucky Military Institute, home of the Florida Medical Center, and the center of the world's best tarpon fishing, is one of the few cities along the west coast that is situated directly on the Gulf. The Tarpon Derby, held from May to August each year, attracts thousands of sportsmen, many of whom arrive by plane at this well-located Venice airport, pictured here. Have you ever wondered what became of the circus after the summer was over? A partial answer may be found by landing at Sarasota's airport and visiting the winter headquarters of Ringling Brothers, which nearly adjoin it. The renowned Ringling Art Museum is also located here in Sarasota. The friendly city on the Manatee River is surrounded by the rich mucklands of Manatee County, famous for its winter vegetables. The city itself is an active tourist center, noted for its hospitality and the cordial treatment of its guests. St. Petersburg, the Sunshine City, is one of the most delightful all-year-around playgrounds of Florida. Almost entirely surrounded by water, this important tourist center has much to offer its visitors in the way of recreation, healthful climate, and entertainment. There are numerous features which distinguish St. Petersburg from all of the other cities on the west coast. Her inviting green benches, which line the sidewalks throughout the business section, are characteristic of the genial hospitality for which she is noted. The many splendid yacht basins, fine hotels, million-dollar recreation pier, and miles of sandy beaches are but a few of the outstanding attractions which draw thousands of visitors to this famous city annually. Our flight up the Gulf would not be complete without a landing and stopover at St. Petersburg's airport, which is one of the most conveniently and centrally located ports in the state. The distinctive and refined atmosphere of the Vinoy Park Hotel at once classifies it under the category of America's finest. Facing Tampa Bay and surrounded by symmetrically placed trees and plants, the architectural design of the Vinoy Park immediately catches the eye from the air and hints at the lovely interior and accommodations that must be hidden beneath her colorful walls. Florida's advantageous climate makes her an ideal spot for the location of hospitals, institutions, and health camps of various kinds. And here, just out of St. Petersburg, we see a typical example of these immense institutions that are to be found in all parts of the state. Tampa's new international land and sea base, now under construction and nearly completed, will provide Florida with one of its most important airplane bases. This ultra-modern airport is strategically located on the Channel Inlet into the city of Tampa and within 5 minutes drive of the downtown section. Another example of Florida's progress in the field of air transportation and a tribute to the foresight of her active aviation division. Tampa, Florida's third largest, is primarily an industrial city and an important shipping center for the lumber, phosphates, fertilizers, and vegetable products of the state. While the city's largest industry is the manufacture of cigars, for which she is noted the country over, Tampa also has many fertilizer plants, gas bulk plants, like those pictured here, and numerous other industrials. Just west of Tampa, across the bay, the city of Clearwater, with its inviting stretches of sugar sand beaches along the Gulf of Mexico, beckons us to pay it a visit and accept the cordial hospitality for which it is noted. This year-round resort center has one of the finest beaches on the west coast, and here we will find pavilions, amusements, cabanas, and all of the various attractions that are contained on a well-developed beach. The city of Clearwater is progressive and foresighted. The spirit of her people is one of unselfish loyalty. Her schools have no tuition for visiting children. Her churches are many. To know Clearwater is to know and love Florida's West Coast. There are comparatively few people who know that the largest sponge exchange in the world is located here on the Gulf of Mexico at Tarpon Springs. This colorful market, with its attendant sponge boats and Greek colony, provides Florida with another of her great industries. To see these sponge fleets in action, the deep-sea divers in their clumsy-looking suits, the bustle and activity aboard the vari-colored, fat-sided boats, and the maneuvering of the fleets as they sail out of the harbor for the sponge beds is a sight that will long be remembered. When the fleet returns, the sponges are treated and laid out in long rows to dry. Later they are sold in the quaint marketplace shown here to buyers from all parts of the world. Cedar Keys is one of the most picturesque spots to be found off the west coast of Florida, and the unusual setting of this town amid hundreds of small islands makes it a beautiful sight to behold from the air. And for our convenience, there is a well-located airport where we may land and literally start fishing right out of the ship's cockpit. And what fish are to be found in those waters? In the heart of Florida's vast forests, which cover thousands upon thousands of acres throughout the northern and northwestern part of the state, we fly across any number of huge lumber mills. The plant shown here is the Cross City Mill of the Putnam Lumber Company, which is one of the most notable in this section. Cross City is located in the center of Florida's finest hunting and fishing country, and her city fathers, together with the aviation division of the FSRD, have foresightedly placed a good airport at the disposal of sportsmen pilots who enjoy a good hunt right close to the landing field. Florida is something more than a playground, as this $10 million paper mill at Panama City indicates. This great plant, engaged in the business of converting Florida's suitable lumber into high-grade paper, is one of the largest of its kind in the world, and provides another outstanding industry to the already versatile state. The United States government has set aside huge lumber tracts all over the country as a means of preserving America's trees and lumber. And here in Florida, the Choctawhatchee, Osceola, and Ocala National Forests contain millions of government-protected trees that form beautiful citadels and sanctuaries as attractive to the lovers of nature as they are practical to the generations of the future. As we continue our flight along the shores of the Gulf, our attention is arrested by the concordant and tranquil picture presented by the Valparaiso Inn. Situated as it is on the emerald shores of Choctawhatchee Bay and away from the noise and congestion of city life, this attractive inn is headquarters for fishermen, hunters, golfers, and those seeking the outdoor recreations that Florida has to offer. Further, the inn is completely modern, tastefully decorated, and the cuisine is excellent. Valparaiso is noted for its extensive vineyards, fine wines, and famous Shalimar mineral waters. And since our flight over Florida would not be complete without seeing these things, we are naturally interested in the splendid airport which the city offers for our convenience just a mile from town. This modern airport, with its hard-surfaced runways, is used by the Army Air Corps as an aerial gunnery and bombing school, but is open to private planes. Pensacola is the training base for the air pilots of the United States Navy. And here at the Corey Field, we find the largest naval training station in the world. It is an awe-inspiring sight to fly into this city and see these giant flying boats and small training planes dotting the sky and waters like great swarms of bees. Besides being the training base for the United States Navy's Air Forces, Pensacola is a commercial city having several very large industries. Outstanding among these is the largest naval stores plant of the Newport Industries Incorporated. We have flown entirely around the coast of Florida from Jacksonville to Pensacola, a distance of approximately 1,300 miles, and have seen the outstanding cities and points of interest found on the Atlantic Ocean and the Gulf of Mexico. And now we jump back to the East Coast to begin the third and last leg of our flight into Florida's interior, where we will see an entirely different type of country. Our third flight line starts at Vero Beach, the winter base of the Aero-Graphics Corporation. From this enterprising little town, the corporation's ships and camera crews operate each winter, serving the entire state of Florida and making thousands of photographs, similar to the ones shown in this book. For the many individuals and companies who find aerial pictures of great value in helping to solve their various problems. We invite you to fly with our camera crews as they make one of these regular flights into Florida's interior to photograph the various points of interest from Lake Okeechobee to the state's capital at Tallahassee. The largest sugarcane mill in the world is located in Clewiston, Florida, amid acres of cane fields that stretch for miles along the southern shores of Lake Okeechobee. Sugar is one of Florida's major revenue-producing crops, and from this area comes a large percentage of America's sweetness. The symmetrical pattern produced by these cultivated fields of Florida is as perfect as the vegetable being raised in them. Celery, millions of celery bunches which will find their ways into the far-off markets of the country. The art of preserving the natural flavor of Florida's fine citrus fruits for the world's markets is one that has been developed to a point of perfection during recent years. Such plants as the one over which we are flying are located directly in the heart of grovelands all over the state, in order that tree-ripened fruit may be freshly canned and brought to our breakfast tables the year around. The Singing Tower and Bird Sanctuary, called the Taj Mahal of America, occupies the highest point of the Florida Highlands and is located at Mountain Lake just a few miles north of Lake Wales. This renowned campanile has become world famous, and its indescribable beauty, the marvelous music of its carillons, and its inspirational surroundings have brought thronging pilgrims from far and near to the Singing Tower. Surrounding the tower and bird sanctuary is an exclusive development of private homes and estates known as Mountain Lake. This private club, with its splendid clubhouse, golf course, and palatial homes, is the outstanding colony of the scenic highlands. A phosphate mine, with its giant drag lines removing the topsoil and its high-pressure water streams cutting into the phosphate beds as though they were so much putty, presents an unusual picture from the air. In this section of Florida, we encounter many such picturesque mines and cannot help but be impressed by their geometric symmetry and tremendous size. Phosphate, a mineral which has been formed by deposits of animal and vegetable life throughout the ages, lies in abundance in this section of Florida. The fact that over 82% of the pebble phosphate mined in the country comes from this area proves the value of the industry to the state. Plant City, located in Hillsborough County, 23 miles west of Tampa, is one of the most important strawberry centers of the country. Here, during the months of February and March, one may see plenty of activity around the yards, markets, and packing plants as thousands of trucks loaded with luscious berries transfer their cargoes into long strings of freight cars for northern markets. The Strawberry Festival, held at the peak of the season, is a sight well worth seeing, and Plant City's airport is conveniently located for us to fly in and view this colorful festival. The vertical view of Plant City presented here was made from an altitude of 10,000 feet, and it's a typical mapping picture. A series of similar photographs covering any amount of area may be taken and mosaicked together, forming an actual true-scale pictorial map of the entire territory. Lakeland, Florida's air-conditioned city, is one of diversified activity and enterprise. The winter training quarters for the Detroit Tigers, the home of Southern College, the national home of Carpenters and Joiners of America, and the headquarters of Florida Citrus Commission and State Citrus Control Board make Lakeland the pivotal point for all of Florida. Her fine recreation centers, picturesque homes, splendid airport, and general atmosphere of combined hospitality and industry distinguish her as one of Florida's leading cities. Orlando, the city beautiful, the air capital of Florida, and the hub of aerial sporting activity, is in the lake section of Central Florida. Here, the winter visitors' calendar includes a seasonal round of spectacular and widely diversified activity. Golf, fishing, Big League Baseball, and hundreds of diversions too numerous to mention are sanctioned by the Chamber of Commerce, whose primary interest is the welfare and entertainment of the city's guests. Orlando's modern paved airport is in direct keeping with the progress of the city beautiful and offers a splendid home base for the air tourist, who may find any sport or entertainment desired within a few minutes' flight in any direction. Florida has countless thousands of inland lakes within her borders, lakes that abound with good fishing, boating, and indescribable scenery that lures lovers of nature from all parts of the world. Cities and towns have sprung up around many of these lakes, embracing them within the very hearts of their business sections in many instances, and creating fashionable residential suburbs that cannot be rivaled for their beauty. Such a town is Winter Park, the city of homes, and the site of Rollins College. Directly adjoining Orlando, Florida, this cultured little city offers many beautiful pictures from the air. There are very few fine hotels in the world to which a person may fly and land right at the front door. This is but one of the unusual services and advantages offered by the gorgeous Mount Plymouth. After taxiing our ship up to the front door, we may have a round of golf, a swim in the luxurious pool, a game of tennis, or any of the numerous other diversions provided for the guests' convenience and comfort. Ocala and Silver Springs need no introduction to tourists who have previously viewed Central Florida. The worldwide fame of Silver Springs and the now existing work on the controversial Florida Cross-State Canal, which is centered at Ocala, bring thousands of additional visitors to the cities annually. Ocala, situated in one of Florida's most productive regions, is an important dairying, poultry raising, and livestock center. Her fine old trees, many of them moss-draped oaks, and her crowning glory, the Great Ocala National Forest, are marks of distinction that lure the lovers of natural beauty. The airport at Ocala has been recently paved, and all modern facilities await her flying guests. Silver Springs is perhaps the state's most beautiful natural wonder. Even from our position, several thousand feet above it, we can readily see the bottom of the river through the 100-foot depths of its magically clear water. 22 million gallons of water per hour flow from this cavity, making it the largest spring in the world, besides creating an underwater fairyland that must be seen to really be appreciated. This is the largest fish and game hatchery in the world and is now operated by the federal government. Many kinds of game fish, trout, and wildlife such as quail and deer are raised here and used to restock Florida's freshwater lakes, rivers, and timberlands. But for these hatcheries, many species of fish would soon become extinct. The University of Florida at Gainesville is primarily a men's institution, the College for Women being located at Tallahassee. And here, not only the men from Florida, but thousands of youths from all parts of the world are taking advantage of the 6 colleges and 3 schools which comprise the university, and which offer complete courses in business administration, law, engineering, architecture, education, agriculture, pharmacy, and the arts and sciences. Under the able leadership of its president, Dr. John J. Tiggart, and the progressive and brilliant faculty which it possesses, the University of Florida has advanced in recent years to the point of being one of America's highest ranking schools. The campus itself, with its modern and beautifully designed buildings and stadium set among native pines, palms, and moss-draped oaks, lends further enchantment to the appeal of Florida's university. Lake City, which derives its name from the numerous lakes surrounding it, is the gateway to Florida from the Middle West. And its good airport, conveniently located, is an attractive invitation for us to visit the large pecan groves, peculiar caves, Veterans Hospital, and other interesting points for which Lake City is noted. The Osceola National Forest is but 15 miles east and is well worth seeing from the air. The Florida Agricultural Department is an extremely active organization in the welfare and functions of the state. Their experimental farms of all kinds are scattered throughout the different sections to develop and improve upon crops and farming methods as a direct aid to the farmers. This particular photograph, showing shaded fields covered with cheesecloth spread over a latticework of lath and wire, is an experimental tobacco farm located in the rolling hills of northern Florida. One of the outstanding lumber manufacturing plants in Florida is that of the Brooks Scanlon Corporation, located at Foley, Florida. Modern in every detail, this mill is capable of producing 100 million board feet of lumber annually. The Brooks Scanlon Corporation specializes in the production of trade and grade-marked pine and cypress. Pine lumber is manufactured from strictly virgin growth, longleaf yellow pine timber. The cypress is from genuine tidewater red cypress. The wood eternal, logged from the deep tidal swamplands along the Gulf Coast. Lumber manufacturing is a major industry in Florida, and here, vast pine, cypress, and hardwood forests supply the world with much of its most useful building material, lumber. To cut the timber and transport the logs to the mill necessitates the building of temporary roads, railroads, and spur tracks. And what an interesting sight these networks present from the air, as they run for miles through thick forests, branching out into all directions and ending abruptly at 100 different points. Boxes and crates for the shipment of Florida's fruits and vegetables are manufactured right at home, and the plant pictured above gives us some idea of the magnitude of this industry. Supplying not only the state of Florida, but shipping crates and boxes to all parts of the world, this industry serves a very extensive market. One of the most hospitable hotels in the entire state is to be found here at Florida's capital, the Floridan. Modern, attractive, and centrally located, is the scene of much activity during legislature and convention time, and is extremely popular with the many visitors who come to Tallahassee annually on business and pleasure. Like the Men's University at Gainesville, the Florida State College for Women at Tallahassee is an outstanding and nationally recognized school. It is the largest women's college in the South, having approximately 2,000 students enrolled annually. While its campus is not as large as the men's campus at Gainesville, the design of the buildings and the landscaping of the grounds are very much similar and every bit as beautiful. And here at the state capitol, we reluctantly come to the end of our 2,000-mile flight over the Sunshine State. The comparatively few spots of beauty that we have photographed along the route are but randomly selected examples of the fascinating scenes and subjects to be seen in flying over Florida. Whether you are a pilot flying your own plane or one of the thousands of passengers who are annually traveling the airlines of the country, Florida invites you to fly into her sun parlor and enjoy the bounties of the health-giving climate, ever-changing beauties, and unlimited recreations that are nature's gifts to this land of plenty, Florida. The fact that Florida has the most highly developed system of airports and airways of any state in the Union is no mere accident. The ease with which we can fly around the state using an accurately prepared flying map, guided in most cases by radio beams, and landing on established airports at practically any city we dare to visit, regardless of its size, is the result of foresighted planning, expert knowledge, and aggressive action on the part of the Aviation Division of the Florida State Road Department. This aviation division, under the capable and ingenious leadership of Major A.B. McMullen, has done more to advance the interest in private flying in Florida than has any other single organization of any state in the Union. The establishment of new airports, hangars, airway beacons, markers, and the preparation of accurate airways maps of the state have been but a few of the many tasks carried out on a statewide scale by this department. Major McMullen has proposed a 10-year plan of aviation development which will, when complete in 1945, give Florida the most highly and perfectly developed system of airways and aviation facilities in the world. Meanwhile, her present-day system of airports and airways are far in advance of the times. We add our own commendation and gratitude to those already presented by other pilots who have flown in Florida and hail the progressive spirit and foresight of aviation sponsor, the Aviation Division of the Florida State Road Department. So that's the second half of this fascinating book. I love being able to create this type of video for you. To me, it's a part of history that's often forgotten, but speaks to much more than what Florida looked like in 1936. It's a form of time travel. A book like this gives us a glimpse at what people thought was important to show their contemporaries. It's an elaborate advertisement for Eastern Airlines, the Aero-Graphics Corporation, and the many resorts and products featured, as well as Florida itself. In 1936, the U.S. and indeed the world was in the midst of the Great Depression, and World War II would start only 3 years later. Still, this book shares a major note of optimism that wouldn't really hit the States until after the war, when Florida's golden era of tourism began. Thank you for watching another of my videos. I hope you enjoyed it. If you learned something, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel to learn more about Florida's tourism history. Stingray Tom's Florida, traveling through time around the Sunshine State.